So my name is Anthony Ianni, and I'm a autism advocate and an anti-bullying advocate, motivational speaker, and I also am the first Division I college basketball player with an autism diagnosis.
Goes down low to Ianni. Little jump hook is good. Rebound, Thornton saves it to Payne. And now a deep brace to Ianni. Back shot is good. Ianni just got his first Spartan bucket.
People on the autism spectrum process information differently. They may also have issues with social skills, repetitive behaviors, OCD and sensory overload, speech, and nonverbal communication. According to the CDC, about 1 in 59 children are born with autism every year.
I was diagnosed when I was 4 years old, and then at 5 years old I was told by doctors and experts that because I have autism that I was not going to achieve or do anything in life. They told my family that I was barely going to graduate from high school, never go to college, never be an athlete, and I would end up in a group institution whenever I was out of high school.
Motivated for years by those who said he wouldn't amount to anything in his life because of his autism, Ianni signed a letter of intent to play basketball at Grand Valley State out of high school. After 2 years, he then transferred to his dream school to play for Tom Izzo at Michigan State. A lack of understanding about autism from others presented some challenges for Ianni and his family along the way.
There were some parents who didn't want their kids to even go near me because they would tell my mom, or they would be like, oh, don't go near the Anthony kid, he's not nice, or he's not for you. And it's like, okay, just because I do and say things differently, I don't understand things as well as a certain individual, doesn't mean you need to tell your kid that, hey, don't go near that Anthony kid. So, and stuff like that was hurtful. It was hurtful to my mom, hurtful to my dad, hurtful to me, but in the long run, I got to learn. As I got older, I get to reflect on that and go, that's how very little people knew about autism back in the day. And obviously we're still trying to build bridges to that and help people process what different information and diagnoses are. But looking back on it, I go, just stories like that can help others, avoid the same, hateful words or hurtful words that were used when I was a kid. So obviously, I took things very literal. If you had told the 5-year-old me that it's raining cats and dogs outside, a normal human being, would know that, raining cats and dogs means it's pouring outside, it's raining hard. Where the 5-year-old me would have ran right out of this building here behind us and ran outside hoping that a cat or a dog would literally fall in my arms. And that's how I was as a kid. I took things very literal, very seriously. Loud noises I couldn't stand. And because a lot of people ask me well, how'd you deal with the effects of arenas and crowd noises as a player? And it was different when I got older because, when I was a younger kid, I couldn't stand to go to football games or basketball games, whether it was at Michigan State or Ohio University where my dad worked at before he was at MSU. And I would put my head in my mom's lap because the stimulation of the crowd noises was just way too much for me. And so how I got over that was, whenever I went to games, I would watch the clock count down from 10 to 0 and the horn would go off. So I would count down the clock and I would put my hands over my ears, and when the horn went off, I cover my ears, but then I would slowly kind of take them off and kind of get used to it. If it was still too much, I put them back on. Then it kind of got to the point of, oh, okay, cool, let's just watch the game. And then when I became a player, it was just all pure adrenaline after that because I couldn't worry about what the scoreboard was doing or what was going on in the crowd noises. I just had to worry about what was going on in the court. And I cared so much about playing in front of my friends, my family, and my community more than anything.
At Michigan State, it took time for Ianni to adjust to the rigors of being a student athlete at a big-time program at first. He utilized the resources provided by the athletic department and the university to stay on track on the court and in the classroom.
Early on, I think he struggled to pick things up as quickly, and then he learned how to spend more time when you're watching film. And after that, to be honest with you, I never treated him any different, and he never wanted to be treated any different. And I can honestly tell you that I think sometimes we we hear things or see things, and we think that it's going to be different, and we stereotype, and that would have been a mistake for Anthony Ianni. Also, I think I looked at him as a guy academically that had to make sure he spent a little more time on things, but to be very honest with you, he was treated zero differently on the basketball court, and I think he appreciated that, and I appreciated him for that.
You know, there are stories, there you know, things I can think back where, you know, a lot of the guys didn't quite understand what the autism spectrum was, or the fact that, you know, AI was on it, and why he was maybe, again, still a little bit awkward, didn't quite understand humor, sarcasm, jokes, laughing, and probably safe to say Anthony was, you know, more on the sensitive side of things. You know, you had to kind of be careful. You had to remind him, like, hey, AI, that was a joke. Like, we're laughing, we're joking. You can laugh now. You know, versus, you know, some folks where you just don't have to quite say that. So
Over to Kearney. 2 to go. Kearney now to Ianni. Way down low. Up. And it's in. He got it.
Since he graduated from Michigan State, Ianni's goal has been to be an advocate and much-needed voice for those in the autism community. Having been bullied a lot growing up, Ianni focuses his message on anti-bullying when he travels around the country speaking to kids at schools and summer camps.
That one little change, it starts right here at this camp. Then you take that change and take it back to your school for this upcoming school year. Then that change, it goes to your town and community. Then it goes to our state. It goes to our country. And last but not least, campers, that one tiny little change can go to the world. Because that is how far, you guys, one little difference, one little inspiration, one little impact and change can go in your whole life. So campers, how about you guys go out and do all that? When you walk out of this camp, how about each of you all go out and you be the change? More importantly, you guys, when you walk out of this camp, how about each of you all go out and make that change?
Whether it's social media or face-to-face confrontation, like, bullying's the one thing that has taken over our country quite a bit. Not just our country, but worldwide. And, you know, people say and do things to hurt others because the bullies want to feel good about it. And, you know, I've gone, and then my message around that was, be careful what you say and do to others, because you never know who that person will be like in the future. You know, that person can end up being one of the greatest athletes in the world one day, the next Justin Timberlake, the next Eminem, next Michael Jordan. Those three were bullied as kids, by the way. And for me to share that with these guys and students all over the country, you know, for them to see and hear that their role models and their idols were bullied as kids, it hits home to a lot of people, and it really makes a lot of those kids kind of think twice about, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore, because who knows, one of my classmates could go invent something bigger than an iPhone or an iPad one day. So that's why I started getting involved in it, because it's a message. I mean, there's a message that is needed for kids who are bullied and who are being bullied. So that's why I got into this.
And I have a cousin that's autistic, and my mom thinks I might be autistic too.
And if you are, guess what? That's cool. Because you're part of a unique group. You're part of the same group as I am. Don't ever forget that.
Even with no prior experience or training, public speaking came naturally to Ianni.
you know, I had a chance to hear him speak probably, I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago now, for the first time publicly, and it was one of the more impressive public speeches I have actually ever heard. And I'm not just saying that because he's my friend, he's my buddy. I told him that after. I said, hey man, like I had done some public speaking myself for work, and I was trained and professionally taught how to do it. And I told him, said, hey, you're a total pro. Like the way you address the crowd, the way you address everyone, the way you carry yourself, the way you communicate your message, your emphasis on certain points, the way you tied it all together. It was an unbelievable message, an unbelievable hour or so that he spoke to.
Good job, David.
In addition to motivational speaking, Ianni tries to help inspire the next generation of kids on the spectrum through his summer basketball camp, which is specifically for kids with autism. He works with young elementary school kids all the way up through high school age kids, and some of them have been coming to Ianni's camp since it started 5 to 6 years ago and have shown significant improvement in many areas since in that time.
Since he's been in the basketball program, he has gained more confidence. He doesn't get upset anymore if he's not the one making all the baskets. He will stand further back, shoot further distance. He's made a few, which has made him very proud of himself. He gets along so much better as a team with other kids on the spectrum and with other typical children, actually, where there was a time when it was just his and mine, and that's what he focused on. He has become so much more confident with himself.
In the future, Ianni hopes to use his platform and life experiences to continue to affect the lives of kids, whether they be on the spectrum or not, while continuing to educate people about autism.
The spectrum is massive. You know, it's huge. I mean, we have 3.5 million people in our country with autism. I mean, a lot of people don't know that. And once you've met a person with autism, you've met a person with autism. And so, but I think that's the one thing that motivates me every day too, is that, hey, people don't quite understand it yet. So that's my job as a motivational speaker, as an advocate for the autism community, to make sure that I go out there and educate individuals on what autism is, how it affected me in different ways, and how it affects other people in different ways as well. I'm still going to push forward and know that there's still 3.5 million people in our country with autism who still need a voice. And I'm going to continue to be that voice for those who need it.
Dish to Ianni up, and it's in! And Anthony Ianni is 1-for-1 with a bank shot, and he's got a smile as big as this President Center.
Yeah, and his teammates are happy for him.